Welcome to the WVU Football Sports Chat on the dpost.com. I'm Todd Murray along with Ed Owens, our football writer. And Ed, Mountaineers back in action this week going to Texas Tech. Went there 2 years ago, did not enjoy the trip. It was a very lopsided game in favor of the Red Raiders. The teams tend to score a lot of points. Are you looking at a shootout type scenario Saturday?
I think there's a chance for it. Tech's offense through the first 4 games of the year was on fire. The Red Raiders were piling up the points. This past week against Kansas State was kind of the first chink in the armor for Tech, only managing 13 points. On the WVU side, obviously they've shown their ability to get points on the scoreboard, if not always through the end zone. Josh Lambert's having a pretty good year kicking wise. So these are 2 teams that can put up the points. The thing working in WVU's favor that maybe the Mountaineers can really break through and have that offensive game, Tech's defense is terrible. They've changed defensive coordinators 2 weeks ago, and since the change to Mike Smith, who was a short-time linebackers coach here at WVU under Holgerson, Tech's defense has still been giving up 45 points per game. Obviously, some of that has to do with the change of coordinator, change of personnel, figuring things out. But Tech's defense is pretty porous right now, and the Red Raiders kind of reeling on the defensive side. So for a WVU team that struggled to find the end zone once they get into the red zone, this is an opportunity to really put some points on the board.
WVU with some defensive changes of its own. Obviously, they were playing a Kansas team that nobody in their right mind would describe as a good offensive football team. But some of the changes they made, Shaq Riddick getting his first start on the line, Brandon Golson at end. What did you see out of these changes?
I think WVU preemptively made those changes, got to kind of break in that new defensive look against an obviously weak Kansas offense. And it's really 4 games like they're heading into right now. Mountaineers want to get faster across the board on the defensive side. Heading into the Big 12, everyone's going to spread you out. Everyone's going to test you deep. They're going to be throwing the ball all over the yard. WVU kind of preemptively, like I said, made those adjustments to get faster bodies on the field. You mentioned Shaq Riddick to end. They moved Ed Muldrow to the weak side linebacker spot and took Brandon Golson, who was at weak side linebacker, and moved him to kind of a pass rush specialist, third down, obvious passing down situations, and just want to turn him loose and let him get after people. All of those things designed to really make WVU a faster, more athletic, more versatile defense. And you saw that against Kansas. They had some success there. They're really hoping they can do the same thing this week against Tech, where Tech is going to spread the ball around. They're going to throw it. You know that. They're a pass-first team. And this will really be the first test where we see how that new look defense fares against Tech.
Right. And so it seems like no discussion of WVU football is complete without talking about special teams. And again, although Mario Alford, the 94-yard kickoff return, a high point, there were low points. There was a blocked field goal. They returned a punt for a touchdown. Jordan Thompson fumbled trying to catch a punt.
Mm-hmm.
What do they need to do to get this thing cleaned up?
Yeah, it seems like every time we have one positive to talk about, we have 2 negatives to talk about when it comes to WVU special teams. Dana Holgerson in his press conference this week said 5 special teams blunders. Unclear if he was talking about Kansas itself or the season as a whole, but WVU special teams have really been lacking. The upside is the teams themselves have been doing all right in terms of as a whole. It's individual plays, it's individual breakdowns, and that's kind of what has them not hitting the panic button just yet. They're convinced this isn't an entire schematic problem. It's individual assignments, it's individual plays where maybe a couple breakdowns lead to a big result for the opposition. They've been on the record. Dana said it after the Kansas game. Joe DeForest said it. They're not going to make wholesale changes. It's the same thing they did last year and were successful with it, so they want to keep doing it. But at the same time, WVU really needs to show that they can do it consistently. You've got a guy like Jordan Thompson as a punt returner who really hasn't shown much yet. A lot of people calling for Thompson to be removed from that role, especially after the last punt return, that he fumbled against Kansas. And that led to one of Kansas's touchdowns. Thompson has been ineffective, but WVU's hesitant to take him out of that role because they say they don't have anybody better. You've got Mario Alford, a guy who you mentioned obviously is electric in the kick return game. I'd look for Alford to maybe see the field and punt return if Thompson continues to struggle there.
Right. We were mentioning early Kansas offense, obviously nothing to write home about. Their defense a little different story, and I guess that makes the success WVU had running the football kind of encouraging. Russell Shell had his first 100-plus your game? Do you see that part of the Mountaineers game just getting better and better?
Yeah, WVU this week named Quentin Spain and Mark Lewinsky, their guards. They named them the offensive players of the week, which you don't always see. Nice to see the linemen getting a little bit of love there. But yeah, they were very encouraged by what they did against Kansas. Not only did they get the run game going, they didn't give up a sack. WVU's offensive line has really been coming together. Got a chance to talk to some of the guys this week, and they said the reason for that is consistency. They're rolling out the same 5 guys. Unless you're looking at garbage time, the second team really hasn't been out there at all. They're staying healthy. They're a cohesive unit, and that kind of unity is really showing on the field. They were able to run the ball well against Kansas, and you have to think that they're going to be able to have similar success against a Tech defense that struggled at different times. Dana has called out Ron Crook for his impact, the great job he's done with this offensive line, and it's just something we have to keep an eye on moving forward. If this was a 1-2 thing maybe, or if this is something they can sustain over the long term.
All right, we'll see what happens Saturday. Thank you, Ed, and please continue to follow our WVU football coverage on thedepost.com.